Welcome to Season 2 of the Lipoedema podcast, hosted by Shell and Tiana. Our aim is to make noise around lipedema and educate as many people as we can about this disease.
Our guest list contains professionals who work in the field and women who live with lipedema. Thank you for joining us. Amanda Wilson is the heart and soul behind Active Elite, driven by a passion to redefine activewear as a symbol of comfort, quality, and the inspiring journey towards self-confidence.
Welcome back to the Lipoedema podcast. We are your host, Shell
and Tiana, and today we are joined by a special guest, Amanda Wilson from Active Elite. Amanda, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. So, Amanda, how did you come to learn of lipedema, and when was that?
Honestly, I didn't really know much about lipedema. It wasn't until we had our first conversation some months back that I really got a good insight into what it actually was. So yeah, that was really educational for me.
Yeah, especially working in the space you do with activewear and not dealing with, but talking to a lot of women, like having that knowledge. And for us, you having that knowledge, that is awesome. That's really going to help our community. The more we can share the word.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Whilst you don't suffer from lipedema, you have mentioned that you struggle with body dysmorphia. Can you tell us a bit about that and how that come about?
Look, for me, it's been a battle that I have been dealing with for the last 15 or so years. And it's just a really mental cycle. It's something that was originally triggered because of domestic violence, and that's what set it off for me. And from that, it just stemmed to I would wear clothes that are way too big for me. I'm very conscious of how I look, my appearance. And so it would hinder my everyday living. I don't like to go out. I don't like to be vulnerable. I won't go to the beach because I just don't want people to see me. It's a no-no. I don't even like going into our pool in the backyard because I'm so self-conscious of how I look that if I think I see the imperfections, I feel that other people are going to see it. And so it just stops me from doing a lot of things.
Our thoughts are so powerful, aren't they? They're so limiting when we get into that negative spiral. Oh, babes, I'm feeling you right now. So as a teenager, like you were just a happy-go-lucky chick, or had there been any inklings back then before this DV situation?
Not really, because I was quite athletic as a child and into my teenage years. And so it didn't really bother me all that much. It was more after I had my first child at 22 and then obviously the DV around all of that. And that's when it started to affect me.
Darling, so you already had, like, you're a mum, and we all know how hard that can be for having our first child, and so young, having a first child, and all of that impacting you. So how are you managing your thoughts around your body?
It's a daily struggle, but I do get a lot of professional help. Not only do I see like a psychologist, but nutritionist, a dietitian, even my PT, and all of that combined helps to put like a steady like regime in place for me, because food is a big issue for me. I go on a cycle where I will binge eat and then I'll starve myself, and it's just always reoccurring. So I have, like my PT, because she's a qualified nutritionist, she writes out a meal plan for me, and that just takes out the guesswork. I don't have to think. I just follow it step by step. And yeah, it just makes things a lot easier. And that way I'm actually eating.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And I guess that can be the biggest thing, making decisions. Like, oh, what should I eat? What shouldn't I eat? What's going to do best for my body right now? And yeah, having a meal plan that's tailored to you, that sounds great. Taking out that guesswork.
Because it's quite confronting, the thought that to actually be healthy, you have to eat. And for a long time, I was really put off by that, um, because you get that stereotypical, thought in your head, and it's plastered all over social media that you've got to be skinny. Um, and the most common way to be skinny is to not eat, but you actually have to eat. You need fuel. Your body needs fuel. So that was a really hard one to overcome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Bloody diet culture, hey?
Oh,
Feeding and
absolutely.
making billions of dollars on
Yeah,
our insecurities.
yeah.
Just talking about the lipedema community, obviously, because Amanda, you're not in the lipedema community, but with your activewear brand, as we suggested, you can service the lipedema community by knowing about size, inclusivity, etc. But this talk about body dysmorphia and finding a meal plan, not a diet, that sort of suits you and doesn't trigger you into bad eating habits is such an important message to all of us as women, because you're right, we do need to eat enough food and we're constantly told to exercise more and eat less. And for people with body dysmorphia, you need to hear that. For people with lipedema, we need to hear that we actually need to fuel our bodies in a nourishing way. And it's interesting when you said that you gain your power from having a meal plan and taking the decision making away to make it easier for you to just follow something. Whereas I've heard Shell talk about a meal plan providing limitations to her. And I must say that sometimes I swing both ways. So depending on where my priorities lie or where my mental health is, having a plan, a stringent plan, can give me power and make me feel organized. But I also swap over to, well, it's too limiting and I just want to do what I want. And so I can see it from both perspectives.
Mm.
And I think that really highlights that there's no one way to go about this, especially
Oh,
if we're
no,
all dealing with similar issues.
absolutely. It's very much individualized, and very personal too. And it should be, you know, what works well for you.
Yeah, there's no one size fits all in any of
Oh,
this. In
absolutely
any
not.
of life, there is no one size
No.
fits all. We are so multifaceted. And as Tiana touched on, yeah, whenever I like having an idea of what to buy, like what meals I'm going to eat, but as soon as someone says to me, "Okay, you've got to limit this, you've got to not have this, you can only do this," then all of my triggers just go off in my head and yeah, so I've got to be really gentle with myself and I pull myself up a couple of times a week, because Instagram's full of ideas, full of great information, but and I'll go, oh, maybe I should try that. Oh, wait a minute. And I just have to pull myself back all the time because I'm sure over the years I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on different programs just trying to be the image I have in my head, and yeah. Mm.
And that's the hard thing too, because
The
it's
tricky one.
so in your face of what this ideal person should look like, and it's not real, it's not attainable. And so then that, you know in itself is just, it's not healthy.
Isn't it less than 1% of women have the ideal body? Like it's less than 1%. Like if you think there's like what, six supermodels and we're thinking we have to look like them, they're like otherworldly. Like
But
they're
they don't
like
even look like that. That's the point. So they're genetically blessed. One, they have access to a bunch of stuff because that's actually their job, that they get paid to market their body. So it's their job and their full focus. And then they get put in these situations where they are airbrushed and photoshopped. They don't even look like they look like when it gets to the end result. So I think, unless we want to be a career model or a career dancer or a career gymnast or someone that requires a body like that, we don't need to look like those people. And unless we're genetically blessed to look like that and we also have the skills of those people, we shouldn't try and fit like the square peg into the round box. It's just going to make our lives miserable. You sort of have to have all of those things line up.
I saw a clip on Instagram a little while ago where someone was promoting an activewear brand. And yes, she had the beautiful face, but to give her that, full figured bottom look, she stuffed implants into her pants. So it's there you go. It's not real.
I also, nah. And I also saw the other day, there was a modeling agency. I don't know what agency it was, but they actually were telling people that no, we're just going to use AI from now on. It's easier to use an AI image than it is to get a model.
Wow, that's
So hey, we can't compete with AI figures. Come on.
no. Wow.
Talking about, a woman stuffing her, bottom section with some padding to give her that figure, because as lipedema women, we are more inclined to have that very definite, exasperated hip to waist ratio. Hip to waist ratio. So our waist is quite small. If we haven't yet got to that secondary obesity stage of lipedema, and our bottom area is quite full. So in fashion terms, so far at this time in our history, our body type is fashionable, whereas in the 90s and the early 2000s it truly was not, and we felt, like Shelley has said previously, deformed or just not right. And so it feels nice that we get a bit of reprieve in that sense at the moment. But what we see a lot in normal clothes manufacturing is they don't cater to our significant hourglass shape. So when I was looking for normal clothes, I would have a size 10 waist, but I couldn't fit size 10 pants over my thighs. Or I would only exclusively be able to wear wide-legged pants. And if they had no stretch in them, I would have to go up a size simply to get over my thighs, or for them not to look like skinny or straight leg pants, even though they were a wide leg pant option. Now, in your activewear industry, you have the benefit of having clothing that's stretchy and lots of lycra and elastin, which sort of is forgiving for us. But I'm really curious to know how manufacturing and size inclusivity plays with each other when you're trying to create designs for an activewear brand. Are you able to touch on that a little bit?
So a lot of it comes down to when you're thinking about your target audience and trying to meet their specific needs. So for me, I do not want to be just another activewear brand. I really want to be focused on, somebody who has, the body dysmorphia and the body image issues, whatever that may be. And it's really about finding one material that will make you feel good. So when you wear it, it's that buttery soft sort of feel. Two, the seams have to be in the right spot. And three, it's not restrictive, but it is compression enough to sort of hold you in and give you that snug sort of feeling. So all of those sort of things, and the paneling need to all fall into place when you are putting a garment together.
And is there a universal sizing that you're able to use? Like how, so I know shops vary from shop to shop to shop, but how would you say like, what would the difference be between a size 10 and say a size 24? Like, do you do some market research, or is that available to you to be able to manufacture those sizes?
It's a lot of market research and comparing brand with brand and seeing what the average sort of size and measurements are, and then kind of working out, okay, well, a medium can really be, a size 12. And just sort of getting your average sizes together and going from there, and then you building on your inclusivity with that.
Sam. And so, being the owner of an activewear brand, how is your relationship with your body and the activewear brand? So how does that all work?
Look, to be honest, at the start, it was really hard. Um, Active Elite was already an established brand, and then I've purchased it and obviously taken over. And the previous owner, she was that beautiful blonde beach Barbie, she young, big breasts, big bum. She really had that, beautiful look about her. And I'm completely the opposite of that. So I couldn't, attain that moving forward. But I did see it as an opportunity to use it as a platform to help myself and to get my story out there and help someone else. But at the start, it was really confronting, especially on all socials, because it's all that, working out in the gym, that gym junkie sort of look, that ripped and toned, and that's just not me.
To you a little bit more about that, because I notice when you go into your Active Elite Instagram page that the previous owner and the look and stuff at that fitness model-esque type vibe, and then when you scroll up towards more of your content, we see you in your activewear in Active Elite. Talk to us a little bit about that, because that's hugely courageous, and especially when you're talking about struggle with body dysmorphia and all of the things associated with that. Talk to us about how you got the courage to be able to do that for your brand.
I will be honest, the day of that photo shoot, I was dying on the inside. That was pushing me out of my comfort zone. I had procrastinated and delayed wanting to do a photo shoot for that reason. I did not want to be that exposed in front of two professional models, a photographer. I just did not want to do it. But in saying that, it has sort of pushed my boundaries. I've conquered that fear. And it's sort of helping to break that shell.
After you got over that shock and trepidation from that actual photo shoot, what do you feel now when you see those images displayed on social media and when you see the outcome of that? And has your clientele changed because of your change in tact?
I think my clientele has gotten better because it's real. The content that I'm providing is real. It's authentic. It's got my face in it. And it's looking at it from a real person's point of view, and not just, a major company's marketing point of view. For my confidence personally, there are days where I do have setbacks, but it's a day-to-day progress. I'm getting better every day. I'm not the same person that I was 6 months ago. I'm more confident. I used to walk around hunched over. Now it's, broad shoulders up, it's Yeah, little steps.
Relatable to our community. So I wanted to dig a little bit deeper in that. You say that, before your posture, like your posture has changed now and you're more upright. Is that a strategy that you've imposed, or is that just a natural progression of your body acceptance? And moving on from that, what strategies have you found have really worked in your quest for acceptance?
It's a bit of both. I sort of had to, how do I put this? Kind of get over myself and get over that negative barrier that I was putting up. It's like I was my own, and some days it's still like that, but my own worst enemy, if that sort of makes any sense. But it really comes down to, I do go to the gym and I have a great PT, and, no, she's not going to blow smoke up my butt or anything, but she does give me that positive reinforcement. You're doing great. Look at that posture. And that makes my day. That is everything, really, some days.
Our bodies create that, dopamine response. I think I have that wrong, but it does create something chemical in our bodies that makes us feel good. And the more we do that, the more we feel good, and it gets endorphins. That's the one. Not dopamine, endorphins. Thanks, Shell. She just typed it out for me, and I'm just reading it now. Thanks, Shell. Yeah, she's got my back, my co-host. But also, when you're at the gym, you're actually seeing results in a different way. Like you're lifting heavier, or your form is better, or you can do more reps. And it goes away from how you look and more about how you function. And that's so important, to get ourselves out of our heads. Amanda, you were talking about, getting over yourself, and the Lipoedema community and our podcast. We have had discussions with some of our warriors, and they've said, and we've said, nobody's looking at us. They're all too concerned with their own lives. So really, it is our perception of ourselves, because nobody else cares. They're also self-absorbed.
100%. You get swept away with, all the mirrors at the gym. But honestly, no one's really looking at you. They're all looking at themselves.
Yeah, and the mirrors are there to check your form, not to check yourself out. And I think once you start, like you said, you work with a trainer, and when you work with a trainer and you start to understand all the techniques and how one change in like how you lift a weight can change which muscle, you start to appreciate the mirrors a whole lot more. Because then you can make sure you're not getting injured, you're working the right muscles. So I think that's a big mindset shift as well. Like that we're targeting these muscles to make them stronger. We're not checking ourselves out. We might do a slide check out just to see how the muscle's coming in, but it's really for that technique. And yeah, that's why there's so many mirrors at gyms, people. If you didn't know that, the mirrors are there to check form.
And at the end of the day, the gym may not be everyone's cup of tea, but as long as we get some sort of movement and vitamin D, that is the main goal.
An activewear brand, you are advocating for that. So it's not just gym movement, it's any kind of movement that feels good to you.
Absolutely. It's, just going for a simple walk, playing in the backyard with the kids, just, hanging out the washing, some sort of movement throughout your day. It's just to get that body moving, that heart pumping, and it's all you really need.
Absolutely. And when you've got gorgeous, buttery, soft activewear on, you're going to be active. you know?
Oh, absolutely.
I think all through COVID, I lived in activewear.
I, would usually get up at the crack of dawn to do my exercise because there's no way I'm coming home and doing something after work. And just rolling out of bed and putting on some sort of activewear, and you're still half asleep when you put it on, and then you're like, well, I'm in the activewear, I may as well do the active stuff. Like, it's this mental shift to like, well, I'm in my activewear. Or if you're at the park with your children in jeans, you're less likely to play around in the park with them than if you go there in some activewear. You're like, well, I'm already in clothes that are nice and stretchy and comfortable, and I'm able to move around, I may as well run around with the kids. So yeah, there's a lot of power in what we choose to wear.
100%, absolutely. And it's all about building that self-confidence too and empowering yourself to do that.
What the activewear community is like for someone who is trying, who is selling activewear. Do you have peers? Is it a supportive community? Is it incredibly competitive? Is it a mix of both? Talk to us about that.
Look, it is such a saturated market, activewear in general, but actually trying to figure out and the niche that I wanted to target has been really important. I don't want to be, another LSKD or Muscle Nation, PE Nation. They're fantastic brands in their own right, but I want it to be something different. And making that sound and noise present within the activewear community has been really important. And just to say, look, I'm here and I'm about something else, has been really important.
I think with you, from what we've seen on your Insta and the message you're putting out there, this isn't just you ticking a box. And
No.
unfortunately, we're still in the early stages of diversity and inclusivity, and brands are falling a little short, and you can tell they're like, oh yeah, I've got my person of color, oh yeah, I've got my curvy chick, oh yeah, I've got, and but with you, it's from your heart. You are sharing and being vulnerable with your story, and I think that's going to bring people to you, like, because you're real. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to say that.
thank you. And that was the whole motivator, the whole goal behind taking over Active Elite and taking it into a new direction. How can I use my personal struggles to reach out to other people and connect with them, and just be like create a community that is there to support each other.
We spoke about this earlier in the episode, but you did mention a few things when I was talking about the manufacturing part of the activewear business, and you mentioned like the kind of material and the seams and where the seams are. I'd really like you to sort of expand on that a little bit compared to your like the designs when you took over Active Elite compared to what you're sort of creating now. What are the things that you look for in the material and where the seams are placed and everything, and what can we see moving forward with Active Elite?
So in regards to seams, flat lock seams, so you don't get irritation from the seams. So flat lock's really important. No front seam, so that's another big one there. And I like to create the gusset, so it just gives you that extra support. Um, in terms of materials, and fabric choices, I like to go for the heavier grade because it is more of a compression type fabric. So I like to look for, what's the word? I've just lost it. I like to look for either recycled materials, recycled fabrics, or I'm going for, different types of fabrics like bamboo, which is my t-shirt that's about to launch soon. So it's bamboo. Things like good elasticity, four-way stretch, something that's not going to that's squat proof. That's really important too. And functionality, pockets is a big one, and not everyone likes scrunch bum. It's no.
There's got to be something in between the scrunch bum. So something where you don't look like you're wearing a nappy and it's just sort of not curving into your curves, but not that it's just going straight up your crack. Like there's got to be a happy medium somewhere.
Yeah, and I've specifically looked at that, and that's where I've tried to put the back seam to make it more detailed, so it sort of gives you that little bit of a fuller look without being a scrunch look.
Situation really just put alarm bells into my head. You know, as lipedema sufferers, we're prone to really intense indentation in our skin from our inflammation. And so when we wear clothing that has seams that pop out, those seam indentations could stay there for hours, honestly, hours. And they could, as you said, they could really irritate us more so than the average person. And also when it comes to the thicker fabrics, knowing that lipedema sufferers have quite textured skin, so it looks like very intense cellulite. Our extremities can be. Having a thicker material just makes everything a lot more flattering, and that's really important to us as well. To have a smoothing effect, which you can't really get to with cheaper, thinner fabrics.
No, and that also helps your mindset, doesn't it? Just putting something on
Absolutely.
that helps you to look good. It's that classic saying: if you look good, you feel good, and then you're more confident. So, yeah, and that's what really Active Elite is all about. Helping you to look good, feel
Love
good,
that.
and be more confident. Yeah.
From your need to do that in your life as well, which, as Shell said, makes it a very authentic brand.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Lipedema community find you and find Active Elite.
I am on all social platforms, so or you can jump onto our website www.activeelite.com.au.
Unless Shell has another question before we get to our very last. No, she's giving me the thumbs up. All right. So I'm going to ask you our last question, and this is a question that's really close to our hearts. If you could go back and give your younger self a pep talk, what would you tell her?
Ooh. It would be that to take one day at a time. Not every day is going to be perfect. You are going to have your ups and downs, but that's all part of the fun. And it's part of what makes us who we are.
Everybody listening? Louder for the people in the back, hey?
Absolutely.
We don't learn from smooth roads, right?
No.
So
And what was
true.
the other one? The ship in the harbour is safe. That's not where ships are supposed to be. So we've got
Oh, I
to
love that
face these.
one.
Yeah,
That's a
we've
good
got to
one, that
face
one.
these things, and they are what build us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Well, Amanda, it's been such a pleasure to, deviate from our usual and talk to somebody outside of the lipedema community. But being outside of the community, you actually have an opportunity to service the community with your offerings. And I think having a brand like yours and an ethos like yours that aligns with certain aspects of the lipedema community, like body dysmorphia, and acceptance, is really something that we can advocate for. So it's not specifically lipedema, but it's lipedema adjacent. And we've been really blessed to have you today to talk about something different for our community.
No, I've been absolutely blessed that you've had me on, and you've given me an opportunity to learn something new that I didn't really know much about. So I thank you for that too. So it's been great.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
When we started the Lipoedema podcast, we relied on word of mouth and existing connections.
Our following has happened organically, and we are so honoured by your support.
As we learn more about the world of social media and algorithms, we have a request.
When you are listening to our podcast or watching on YouTube, let us know what you think.
Hit follow or subscribe.
Leave us a comment or write a review.
The more engagement we get, the more our message is shared.
And the greater our reach to those women suffering in silence.
Thank you for listening to the Lipoedema podcast. Lipoedema and its symptoms vary from individual to individual. The opinions and advice voiced in this podcast are of a personal nature and used for educational purposes.
Please take away from this podcast what resonates with you, and please see your GP or preferred specialist for diagnosis and healthcare. We are Shelley and Tiana from the Lipoedema podcast. Until our next episode, bye for now.